What's going on, everybody? It's Peter here with Real Estate Trends and Market Updates, here with another Real Estate Trends and Market Update. Instead of a guest, we'll have a couple of guests that are coming on. One big guest, I won't mention his name, but he'll be on in the next couple of weeks. I know that when we get these guests on that are, that have a big following and stuff like that, it really helps out, you guys realize that there's people that are doing really great out there, and there's people that are just starting out, and there's people that have been in business for a while and have found a niche. This guy coming on the podcast this week, which ultimately will air in the next couple of weeks, it's someone that everybody kind of in the real estate space knows about because he's come up the past couple of years as being someone that puts a ton of debt out there and ultimately has been successful at that young age too. So, all right. So this podcast is for those people that are, for one, wondering what the heck is going on with the market. How do I get past the objection of rates are too high? And then two, it's just to give you a little background. I wanted to put a little bit of information on what National Association of Realtors have going on. And this article looked pretty interesting. And I want to talk a little bit about that. But for one, to talk about what the market's doing right now and how the market is adjusting to the interest rates. I mean, people are still, there's 1,534 homes in the last 30 days that have sold in my market, my Orange County market. Granted, I have 5 other counties that are around Orange County that are still transacting. So we'll just talk about that 1,534. So transactions still going on, which is massively eye-opening, because you can see it and say, well, you have a ton of transactions going on, so why aren't people ultimately, agents specifically, making that happen? And you got to realize, like, there's a lot more objections. A lot of people realize that when there are good times, you either list the property and you get it sold within the weekend. For me and my market, we're a pretty fast-moving market. Some other areas may take, their average day on market is 60 or 90 days. That's not my market. Our average is like 18 days, sometimes 11 days, sometimes 12 days. Right now, it's like roughly 10 to 15 days. And then it's slowly expanding, just because as we get into the fall months and the winter months, people stop transacting as much. So objections do not just happen when you call someone and you cold call them and you say, hey, I want to list your house. Hey, I want to help you buy. That's not the only time that you have objections. There's a lot of times where you list a property, dude, you're like, oh my gosh, I got this listing. I got an agent on my team that did a for sale by owner, cold called them, said, hey, I want to list your house. Went over there, did a full presentation, got the listing. And then when he ended up listing, he went through the struggles of, objection. Hey, we got 5 offers. No, I don't like any of those offers. I want it at this price. Okay, we'll continue to market it. We continued to market it, finally got that price, which was like a few weeks in, I believe, of listing it, and closed at that amount. He just closed yesterday. So I told all my agents today, there's always objections. It doesn't matter if the objection happens, when you phone call, and when you give them a phone call, you send them a text, and you don't hear anything. That's one side of an objection. The other side is, okay, well, hey, I have, if you look at it, there's a ton of objections. Okay, well, it's now the seller, giving me objection. Now it's the buyer giving me objection. We just got an escrow. Now they want to cancel. A lot of people think that, you're just getting these checks, 10, 15, 20,000, 2,000, 5,000, and it's a glorious life. That's not the case. There are objections every corner of every transaction, every conversation. You just got to work with the people and actually see what they're really worried about, and then move past it with follow-up, with the conversation. So that being said, I'm going to move into this, quick conversation. So basically, National Association of Realtors has a ton of information on their website. So they have this article that came out the end of last month, so about a month ago. But you have the Federal Housing Commissioner Julia Gordon discusses policy changes and initiatives. So she's basically going around. If no one has experienced this, you will experience it in your career. So FHA is always one of those where the agents that are being brought up from a broker and or office manager, team lead or whatever, that's the worst offer that you can get. So sometimes they don't even talk to the person, the person on the other end. So the person that is submitting the offer. So if you have times like 2021, times like 2006, those scenarios are times where like you're like, dude, um, we are submitting an offer that's a viable offer, but why are you not going with it? Well, it's an FHA offer, so there's stringent guidelines when it comes to accepting it, and misconceptions on accepting it, and then going through this really heinous, challenging appraisal. Well, that's not the case on all of them. So you really need to talk about objections. You really need to talk to the listing agent and say, do you have any other offers? Okay, hey, these are the challenges, these are the setbacks, but we can do X, Y, and Z. This is what we need to do. So that being said, you need to, as an agent and as a lender, really, talk to that agent that has the property listed and dispel any of those issues. And this is what this lady's doing, is going around and, kind of basically doing a full campaign to, you know, negate a lot of those challenges that a lot of lenders, agents, and everything like that look at FHA as. There are requirements because it's federally funded. It's basically federally backed. So, if someone forecloses or something like that, the government is taking, these big companies are basically saying like, hey, we'll fully, commit to, if it forecloses, we're, good to go. And then this says right here too, we're also concerned about inventory on both home ownership and rental side. While exclusionary zoning is one of the most important issues we're facing in the industry, it currently appears that more possible to rezone for accessory dwelling units than larger family. Yeah, so this is a conversation I've had recently with someone on Bigger Pockets. Like, they were like, hey, I want to rezone to a duplex. Well, that in California, that might be a challenge because rezoning is very, very tough, especially if the city has zoned that area as just single family. And to switch it, or, to do entitlements from ultimately saying this is a single family to two to four units, you may never get around that. So, and that's the one key piece to increase that property value, is like saying, okay, hey, 2 to 4 units, bam, bam, and then that's going to increase the property value. Well, a lot of cities are going to say no, but this ADU situation it's going to increase the property value by ultimately putting a second unit on. I mean, there's a lot of people that say that that's not the case, but one thing to keep in mind: ADUs, especially in California. I'm a big advocate for it. As long as you do them right, as long as you work through everything. FHA reduced its mortgage insurance premiums $800 annually. Obviously, that's going to help people save some money. So that's going to be a boost in their income, their debt to income on that when they go get approved for a loan. That's FHA. The 203K loan, please, 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 when you're talking to clients, think about that when you're having that conversation. That's a huge thing that people should be talking about as a real estate professional. Hey, there's a 203K loan. It can, fund you 2,000, 2,500, 20,000, 25,000 to fix up the property. Then you can refinance. There are higher interest rates because that's bigger liability to the bank, but those are things to think about for sure. So this is stuff that you need to really comb through as a real estate lender and agent. So then all of a sudden, when someone talks to you about, hey, I want to buy, a property 10% down, why don't we think about doing an FHA loan and then doing a 203K loan? Because then you can ultimately be in the driver's seat on closing on that property, getting $20,000, $25,000, as long as the ratios are good on the back end of that person's qualifications. And then you can say, whoops, all right, perfect. We got an escrow, not really whoops, but not got into escrow. And now as soon as they close, that person's getting 25,000 higher interest rate, but they ultimately can do that after 12 months, refinance, bump that FHA loan off, get the PMI off, and then they're in a conventional loan. They can do it again if they're an investor, or they can, save up and do that again if they keep it for a few years, rent it out, and then, go look for another property doing an FHA 203K loan or just an FHA loan. All this stuff gives you the ability. So when you're sitting in front of someone, buyer, seller, or both, you can provide them added value. So if they go, oh, hey, I want to buy and sell, so I got to sell first, but I have $80,000 worth of debt. Okay, well, let's pay that off once you sell, and then you still have 50 grand. Okay, well, that's still going to provide you with an FHA loan. So why don't we do that? And you can keep a little bit on the side for an emergency fund, and you still have home ownership. That type of stuff really helps out people when they're in a pinch. So hopefully this podcast and this episode helps everybody that's listening. And I appreciate everybody once again that listens to this podcast. I really do. Thanks so much. Share it with anybody that you know that's in real estate, thinking about getting into real estate, and anything else, on the docket that, maybe you have a friend that hasn't closed a deal in 12 months. Share this podcast with them. I think that, it'd be really good for that person that's in real estate that maybe is struggling a little bit to hear and get some affirmation on, really where they should be at today and the next 6 months. So leave a rating and review where you can. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you guys next week on Real Estate Trends Market Updates.